to organize your amazing ideas into a powerful book? You are in the right place.
At the right time to learn how to write your book.
Hi, I'm Joyce Glass.
And I'm Sherry Lynn Bisbano, and welcome to The Right Hour Nonfiction Tips from the Right Coach team. We are so glad you joined us today.
Welcome to episode 905 of The Right Hour. We continue sharing how you can grow your audience on social media. Today, Myrna shares how LinkedIn has changed over the years and how you as a writer can best utilize the platform. Myrna is a LinkedIn lead generation expert who in 2014 created a LinkedIn funnel framework to help strategically grow her business without being spammy, salesy, or using any kind of automation or bots. She focused on building trust, positioning herself as an expert, and providing value. Now, she uses the same framework to help her clients grow their businesses, which result in an additional 5 or even multiple 6 figures in their business. Remember, the best time to grow your audience and make connections with possible endorsements is while you write your book. This episode is sponsored by How to Build Your Audience on Twitter with Keith Keller and the Right Coach team. If you're writing a book, the time to grow your audience is now, before, during, and after you write your book. Don't make the mistake I did and wait till you're finished writing. It's too late, or you'll need to delay releasing your book to grow your audience. Learn the 4 easy and actionable strategies on how to grow your audience. Use the discount code for you to receive $10 off and learn more at the link in the show notes. I am so excited today. We have with us Myrna Bacon. Is that how you say it?
Bacon, but you can call me Bacon like most U.S. peeps do.
Well, you got to understand, that's how you would say it over here. But,
exactly. That's when I say bacon, I'm like, whatever, dude. Just like, it actually sounds cool. Mere bacon, like, yeah.
What is the correct pronunciation?
Bacon.
Bacon.
You can actually pronounce it pretty well. Usually people can't handle the ch. So
I took German. And
exactly.
And I have German background. You know, most of German sounds like they're going to spit on you any minute now.
Yeah.
What language is Croatian closest to? Or what do y'all speak?
Well, yeah, I mean, we were under Hungarian, Austrian Empire, so we have actually a lot of Germanism in our daily, the way that we talk, and especially old school Croatian. My grandma, when I talked to her, there was still a lot of Germanism. With the internet in the last 10 years, it's just like we have a lot of English words as well because everything is now mixed Croatian with English and whatnot. But yeah, we were under Hungarian and Austrian kind of background is there. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of a mix of all of that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Well, I am so glad you're here because we're doing this series on social media, and a lot of writers struggle with building their platform and understanding how to do all of this and also getting overwhelmed. So I tell them, pick 1 or 2, start with that, and then grow from there. Don't try to learn them all at the same time. You will drive yourself crazy. But,
exactly.
Yeah. So, but what got you interested in LinkedIn? And then kind of tell us a little bit about you and then how you became this expert in LinkedIn.
I started my first business using LinkedIn, and then that was a startup where we work with like nutritionists, and I had a huge like online platform where I helped them to work online with their clients, but we were too early in the market. There was no way that we could actually survive, and if the only option for me was like to move into the US and keep raising venture capital because we were one of the first startups in Croatia to get venture capital, and investing in Europe is much more different than in the US. So I had to start up, but I realized I really hate doing software. It's not where my heart lies. I was more in like coaching and like in writing and video, because I was a video editor professionally for a long time. It was the hardest decision for me to make, to leave the startup, because I put my, heart and soul into it. But I learned so much about business. I learned so much about like all that stuff that doesn't scale, right, that actually today is the thing that makes my business really bloom. Mm-hmm. I just realized, you know what? I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do now, because I'm leaving the startup. I really can't handle this. I had a huge burnout and everything. But I'm like, I know how to do LinkedIn, and I know how to, I started my first business from ground up just using this. I'm just going to record a course, put it out there. Maybe someone wants to buy it. That was 3-4 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I've been using LinkedIn for like 5 or 6 years. Actually started to do this like 3 or 4 years ago. And I realized that people really struggled with LinkedIn, and it wasn't even this hype platform like 3 or 4 years ago. In the last year, it's very hyped because everyone's starting to get super disappointed with Instagram and Facebook and like Twitter. And they're actually looking for people with money, like actual business people. Coaching industry is like an industry where I would say like 70% of people are like actually broke, because everyone can call themselves a coach, right?
Right.
And then these are some of the things that are starting to kind of go from, you can see in the market that people just don't believe other marketers anymore, because like I would say that the market has matured, and I'm really happy about that. Now, most people are actually looking at LinkedIn as this like, oh, there's like the platform. It was the boring platform. Now it's like the platform with the money, right?
Right.
But it's also very, very different platform, which I want to talk about today with you, because we're going to, I think, save a lot of writers just like wasting a lot of time on doing the wrong things there. So it wasn't kind of super passionate. Like I woke up and I was like, I want to do LinkedIn for the rest of my life. It was like a way out. But in the meantime, I really perfected my strategy. I enjoy working with people and like coaching and marketing and all that stuff, and just like helping them with their businesses. That's kind of the thing that moves me the most, where my system has been proven so many times in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years that now I can almost guarantee that if I start working with somebody and I choose to work with them because I know who my ideal client is, that we can get you results in like really helping your business make money in a very ethical way. And that kind of fulfills me much more deeply than than the fact that it's LinkedIn, if that makes sense.
I like that in an ethical way, because, there's a lot of things out there that it's almost scammy, some of them.
Most, I can guarantee, like,
well, a lot of them are, yeah. But and they just don't feel right. Because I know in LinkedIn, I've been approached, and it was funny. The same guy approached me in the direct messages about 2 different people doing the same thing, and I was like, what? And it was just odd. If I paid them, I don't know, $3,000 or $5,000 a month, they were going to get me so many leads a month or whatever, and I was like, no, thank you.
Yeah, I don't think so. Not today. No. Yeah, I know. It's nice to be real honest. It's great to be a LinkedIn expert now. It wasn't that cool like 3 or 4 years ago, because everybody hated LinkedIn. Now there's so many spammers and gurus and people that have no idea. The experts and people that actually understand the bigger picture and have experience and have like real testimonials and real people that they work with. For us, it's our time, in the sense of like,
right.
What I want to focus like my whole 2020 is just like making sure that my program sets a completely new standard in the coaching industry, like in the LinkedIn coaching industry, because it's like people are getting ripped off. I don't like that.
No. Well, let's get diving in here. Is LinkedIn just for business people? That's a big thing, and I consider that a little bit of a misconception. But explain.
Yeah. I mean, in my work, I focus mostly on coaches and working with coaches, but it's like array, like entrepreneurs, coaches, also speakers. I have a couple of clients I talk to about that. There are writers in a kind of different format. Even though I would say that any type of a marketer is actually a kind of a writer, either a copywriter I would say that it's not definitely in the last year, LinkedIn is not just for business owners. I think that the big misconception is when a lot of people don't understand the difference between B2B and B2C. So I want to kind of clarify that so that writers understand the opportunity as well. So in the classical sense, a couple of years ago, B2B was like business to business, corporate to corporate in most cases. When somebody said B2B, it was thought about like huge company working with a huge company, right? And that was what people thought LinkedIn was about. And, you know, it actually was more about that just because LinkedIn as a platform didn't want to be like social media-y. Okay. They wanted to be the site where it's like serious site where you can find jobs and all that stuff. But of course, like as trends, I mean, you can't survive if you don't adopt. They started to be more, I would say the last 2 or 3 years, they started to work really a lot, becoming more social media-like, but not losing that B2B edge. Now, in the meantime, what happened in the industry was that a lot of people, solopreneurs became businesses, companies, right? So coachings, like coaches, it's like a lot of people is like coach and a VA, they have their own business, they have a company, right? They can invoice and they can do all these different things. So there's this hybrid of what I call a hybrid B2C or hybrid B2B, which is actually not a corporation. It's actually a more of like an online business or business that's a small business, right? Where one person can work with the business as a company, or one person can work with another person as a company to a client. For example, a coach that has a company can work with a client that is like, you know, a normal person. So as, you know, LinkedIn started to be more social media, like a social media more than like a resume site. Right. And as the industry started to change, and there's all these different like hybrid now, I would say, ways of how people do business, it's not that corporate site anymore. No. I work with coaches that have, you know, either are solopreneurs or they have a small team, right? They're nowhere near big corporations or make turnover money like annually like big corporations. They find LinkedIn a great place to find clients. Their clients can be companies sometimes. If they work with corporate, it can be other businesses, or it can be just like customers.
Yeah, I found a higher quality of clients there is what I find.
Yeah.
And more so with what I'm doing, the kind of client I'm looking for. That's the thing that I like. So if it's not just for business people, why should writers be on LinkedIn?
Yeah, we had this small discussion before we started to talk. So one thing that I would really ask all the writers to now listen carefully is like, do not try to sell your books over LinkedIn. Like, LinkedIn is not a place where you're going to sell your books. And some of you guys are like, okay, so if I'm not going to sell my books, I'm a writer. Like, why should I use LinkedIn? Well, the reason why you're not going to sell books on LinkedIn is people on LinkedIn log in much less than they do on Facebook, right. Which means that you have much less opportunities to land a client, and you need to be on the platform all the time to get that opportunity, which means that if you don't have a higher price product and service, you're never going to get a return on investment. The sales cycle is longer. So for somebody to buy a book, it would take them, like, you would need to actually negotiate with them to sell your book. Mm-hmm. Do not even think about that. Like, even if you have like hundreds of thousands of followers, like, selling your book is not going to be worth their time on LinkedIn. But what is going to be worth your time is to find agents, for example. If you are fictional, non-fictional author, publishers, let's say you do poetry or whatever you do, spiritual, whatever, publisher, agents, right? They are on LinkedIn. Let's say that you want a good publisher, right? You don't want to go like through old school, like, Charles Bukowski saying, sending letters and getting like everybody saying no. You can use LinkedIn actually to get to people that you won't find on Facebook or Instagram. Like, these are the decision makers. Even if you want to get your, let's say you're a story, you write short stories, for example, and you want to get that story published in New York Times. Like you can go on LinkedIn and find people who actually like are some type of a decision maker in New York Times, send them an invite to connect and start a conversation. LinkedIn is agents, publishers, any type of decision makers that can help them in their career, right? They're probably on LinkedIn. If you're more of a type of like a business writer, or I would say like entrepreneurial type of a writer, where you're writing books so that you can get speaking gigs or like use it more for marketing purposes, for example, or something like that, it's still, you're not going to sell books. You're going to use LinkedIn to find gigs, to find conferences, to also find decision makers to get you to that next step. One thing you have to realize about LinkedIn is that it's a great place to find people that are usually like, you either have to Google it, you have to like find in the yellow pages, you have to like do all this like research and work. Like on LinkedIn, it's much more easier. Like, for example, let's say that you're a self-published author, right? You have 1,000 copies, hardcover copies, and you want to find somebody that's going to sell it for them, somebody that wants to sell it for you that you want to partner up. LinkedIn as well is going to be a great place. Now, I'm a little bit like, I know how it works in Croatia when it comes to publishing. I don't know like all the details of how it works in the US. You probably guys have much more opportunities around different types of publishing than we do in Croatia, but it's still the same thing. Any type of a partner, decision maker, agent, any of these types of roles, besides the person that's actually going to buy the book, LinkedIn is good for. Right. All the other platforms like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter that are much more B2C, and it's all about like really the amount of people that see you. This is for like sell your books over there, like Amazon, Facebook, whatever, right? There's all these different ways. But for LinkedIn, everything else, all of the other like kind of technical stuff, people, things that you actually need in order to become a writer and for people to actually buy your books.
Right, and that's
what LinkedIn's good for.
Great for connections too, because writers, especially if you self-publish, you're going to need a graphic designer and somebody to format. You're going to need editors like me, and maybe a writing coach like me. So there's a lot of things that you can do and build those relationships, and you can see their content.
Yep.
I do have a question. So, as a writer, what kind of content would be good for writers to be sharing on LinkedIn to connect with other people? Because that's going to be probably different than their blog post, would it not?
Okay. So the way that I approach LinkedIn and the reason why it works so well is that I don't spend my clients' time on stuff that they don't need to do. And I really focus a lot on personalization. It's all about the client, right? I want to protect his time. I want to protect his reputation. I want to build his reputation if needed. But if you look at it that way, the most common and the biggest mistake that everyone does is like, I'm going to go on LinkedIn, I'm going to write content. And since we know that every social media, as you said before this call, is like a different planet, this is on planet LinkedIn. How it works is like people are busy. Mm-hmm. They do not spend time on the home feed. Imagine like the New York Times editor guy, right? He doesn't have LinkedIn open 24/7. He doesn't scroll through the home feed all the time. So does it make sense to write content for if your target market is editor, right? Mm-hmm. It might not. So I think that that's actually the wrong question, what type of content they should write. I mean, you should always write content that resonates with your market and with your target market, right? Mm-hmm. That's the ultimate answer. It's like your target market and your readers are always going to give me the thumbs up or the thumbs down, right? But the question is not I think that the right question is whether you should write content on LinkedIn or you should focus on something else. The reason why I'm saying this is because there's a lot of misconception that comes from Facebook that like content is king, Mm-hmm. And I just want to kind of give you a little bit of an idea. If you see the Facebook profile, and this is all common sense, look at the Facebook profile. Is there anything else that you can actually do on that profile besides writing statuses, writing your thoughts, like writing content? No. When you see the LinkedIn profile, it's a huge opportunity for writing a story directly letter to your ideal client, to the person that you want to work with. And in how I look at LinkedIn, again, that's why it's so different than what everyone else is teaching, but so much more efficient, is that I really focus on the LinkedIn profile being your most important asset on LinkedIn. So I would rather talk about how to write the LinkedIn profile than about how to write the content, because you can get so many things wrong with content. Like I see people that have 20,000 followers, not one like on their post. I post once per week strategically because I know what I'm doing and I understand the LinkedIn algorithm. I can get from 100 to 500 comments in 2 days. Like my team is drowning. We can't handle the demand, right? That's because I know my target market, and I do the same for my clients. For the clients that I know that their target market is utilizing home feed. So you can actually, if your target market is not scrolling on the home feed and you're writing all these posts, you're actually going to do yourself, like you're going to tell the LinkedIn algorithm that your content is not relevant because nobody's going to just have time to see it. So I would be very careful with writing content on LinkedIn, to be really honest. Your LinkedIn profile is something that's a much bigger and better asset for anyone using LinkedIn, so writers as well. And one thing that you have to remember, if you're a writer and if your profile sucks, that's going to talk a lot about you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's almost like a marketer or a person that's like, you're an English teacher or teacher of like the English language, and you have like spelling mistakes on your LinkedIn profile, right? So that sucks. The reason why the LinkedIn profile is such a much better asset is it just follows you everywhere you go on LinkedIn, whatever you do, whether you're writing articles, messages, emails, posts, like whatever it is that you do, you always it's always there, right? It's like your picture and your headline. Okay. So also when you connect with somebody, let's say you send an invite to connect, what you're probably going to do is you're going to check out their profile. I at least check out the headline, at least, but there's no way that I don't pay attention to that, right? I don't spend time on the home feed, going through content. I don't have time for that. But if somebody asks, for example, to connect with me or sends me a message, I'm going to check out their profile, right? That is for sure. Okay. And this LinkedIn profile is basically created in a way that there's all this space to tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
And I teach my clients not to use it as a sales page, not to use it as a landing page, not to put a bunch of keywords inside, but to tell a story about their market. And that's why we have so much success that people don't have to sell, because the way that we approach the LinkedIn profile is like it needs to talk about them instead of you. And I think that you said that you teach the same, very similar thing, right? It needs to be about the reader. So it needs to be about the reader on LinkedIn as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like common sense. So what I would encourage your listeners to actually focus more on, and to be honest, like they're probably going to have more of like one-on-one, maybe messenger conversations than they're, somebody's going to see them just because they posted some content. What I'm encouraging you to do is like to basically make sure your LinkedIn profile really is a good representation of what you offer to the world. Mm-hmm. And then content is something on the home feed that is an add-on if your readers have time to go there. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Definitely. So do you have like a couple of things you can tell us that should be on the profile so that you're going to attract the kind of people you want? Is there a couple of just quick things you can tell us?
Yeah, I mean, have a normal, like I know writers like have a really good headshot photo. Like do not have your like cats and dogs stuff. One thing that you have to know is that anyone that takes a look at your LinkedIn profile, one thing they're asking themselves is like, what's in it for me?
Right.
They are never actually interested in you. It's never basically about you. So do not bother talking about how cool a writer you are. What I teach my clients, again, it works really well, is to tell a story about their market on their LinkedIn profile. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of biggest secrets I can give away instead of just like, telling you exactly how to do it. But you need to, when somebody lands on your profile, needs to resonate with them, right? Mm-hmm. It needs to be like, when you go and send them a message, they're like, yeah, I remember you, right? It's like, or they're so inclined that basically they're like, I got to send this person a message. Mm-hmm. Like they're speaking my language. A lot of times my clients say like, their client said, you're in my head. So you need to be in that editor's head. You need to be in that publisher's head. You need to be, that's what your profile should be about. When they go there, it's like, this speaks directly to me. Okay. That's the most, like, that's going to bring a lot of attention. That's going to give you like a head start for people to just like give you the time of day and notice you and just remember you, because that's, to be really honest, that's the kind of your first obstacle going to be, to just get their attention.
Well, and writers are known to support other writers too. But what would you say about finding an audience on LinkedIn? I mean, I guess you got to decide what audience you're looking for, correct?
Yeah, are you asking me about like LinkedIn groups?
So like, somebody that's written a spiritual book, they might find some good connections on LinkedIn, but they're not necessarily going to find their reader there. Somebody who's written a book about investing and investing in startups, could find their readers there to connect with. So what kind of audience, or how do they approach one audience or connect?
Yeah, I mean, I teach my clients to only connect with there are other gurus that talk about like quantity. I talk about quality for a number of reasons. Quality always beats quantity on LinkedIn. Right. In other platforms, other planets are different, right?
Right.
I would definitely suggest not to kind of try and find their reader on LinkedIn, but again, use it as we talked about, and then build your connections just with these relevant people. Like I'm on LinkedIn for like over 5 years. Again, built 2 businesses with it. I have about like 6,000 connections, and people are like, you should have like, tens of thousands of connections by now. And I'm like, yeah, but I purge my connections like every month. I just like unconnect with a bunch of people because I have an audience then that sees my content, that are my ideal clients. And then when I do anything, I'm always in front of them and I'm in their headspace, right? I do not connect like software engineers if my target market are coaches.
Mm-hmm.
So I really cultivate, I really am all about quality, and it really works well. So, for example, like I get loads of people like asking me to connect. Like you wouldn't believe, like sometimes I'm like, I can't handle how many people ask me to connect. And most of them, like 85 to even 90%, I said no, because I have no use of them in the sense of like, if my connection base is not focused around the person that I'm pursuing, the type of person, like ideal client that I'm pursuing on LinkedIn, that means that I'm just going to waste my time because it's going to be all watered up and the algorithm is going to get all watered up, and I'm not going to get in front of the right people.
Right. Yeah.
Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, there are other gurus that are talking about like partnerships and, people know people, and that's all cool if you want to go that route. But again, my job is to protect my clients' time. And I know very well what works on LinkedIn, and, the whole like, yeah, let's build a huge following thing. It's almost like having a huge email list that you do not like, people just don't open their emails.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I would definitely suggest to resist the urge to connect with everyone or like just somebody because they like your book. LinkedIn can be tremendously amazing if you do one thing. And that one thing, as I teach my clients over and 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 over again, is focus.
Mm-hmm.
Like while you're there, what do you want to do? Right. And just like focus on like not getting distracted, but with all the noise, just build your connection base of editors, build your connection base of publishers, build your connection base of decision makers. Let them see your profile. And then if you start communication with them and you see that they're active on LinkedIn, that they respond a couple of times per week, which is actually, that means active on LinkedIn, then you can think about maybe creating some type of a content so that they can see your writing style, but not the other way around.
Right.
Does that make sense what I'm saying?
It does. So the big key, like you said, is focus. And it's interesting how what I teach my clients for their book is exactly
probably similar.
Very similar to what you're teaching for people with LinkedIn, because if a book doesn't have focus, people are going to get bored and put it down, and they're not going to read the next one because they didn't read the first one. So you got to have
exactly,
and something to keep their attention. If you know who you need to connect with on LinkedIn, that's more important in your profile than just spitting out a bunch of content to spit out a bunch of content, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Like, I'm going to tell you, like, you can get clients just with having your LinkedIn profile optimized the right way and written for the right person. Mm-hmm. Without content, without messages, without anything. Happened to me, happened to my clients. Then the next step is like, you can get clients off LinkedIn without, like, just by having your LinkedIn profile and just like maybe understanding how to do messages. If you write content, this is the thing. If you write content, but your LinkedIn profile is not optimized, you will not get a client, because you know what? After your content, they're going to check out your profile. If your profile sucks, they'll never work with you.
Right.
So that's the thing.
Who is this?
Content is over. Yeah, like content is overrated in that sense. It's not. I'm not saying like do not write content. Again, I don't want to be misunderstood, but it's not necessarily what will get you clients. A good profile will. Mm-hmm. It can be so strong. There's not a better asset than a good LinkedIn profile for that platform.
Awesome. So, what training do you recommend for people to use that they want to learn how to use LinkedIn better or gain clients? Because you mentioned your course. What is it that who do you help with your course?
I actually stopped selling courses, to be real honest. I have a program. I have kind of two resources. One is like the free Facebook group that's still open, where I talk about a little bit more like the philosophy of LinkedIn for you guys to understand these concepts, which are the key. Because if you don't understand the concepts, you're going to do mistakes. And then I have the 90-day LinkedIn Accelerator, which is like a 90-day program where me and my team basically guide people throughout the 90 days every single day and build out a strategy that works particularly for their business on LinkedIn, whoever they are. And within 90 days, we accelerate their business with like clients and stuff like that without using any kind of BS or like, automation tools or like reputation. I usually work with like coaches, but I just told you before we started to record, I actually had, since I was a published author in Croatia as well, I had one client, Megan, she's still in. She writes like biographies of family-owned businesses and kind of enables them to leave like this huge legacy in the form of a book. And I love that concept. I was like, I got to get you in. I never worked with the writer basically, but like, I know that I can get you clients. And we did. We got her in, taught her our strategy step by step. We got her accountability support. It was like amazing. And I think it was like 2 weeks after she optimized her profile, she had a person checking out her profile and saying, "Hey, dude, like, we got to talk." Like, and she closed the client like within a week. It was just a little bit of a smaller project because they decided to have a smaller project to start, but like the emphasis is going to be like to continue to work together on bigger projects. And I think she closed in within 2 weeks after like people checking her. She didn't write content, by the way. It was just her profile.
That's awesome.
Exactly. So
we'll put a link to your free Facebook group.
I can maybe leave a link for like scheduling a call if somebody wants to talk more about the Accelerator, because there's only 10 people every 3 months that we get in. It's super exclusive in the sense of like, I have 3 coaches and 2 people working with me. So these are like 5 people or 6 people in the Accelerator. We focus on like these, our clients, and we give them like one-on-one coaching experience, even though it's a group coaching program. It's like pretty insane. It's not for the faint-hearted when it comes to like the amount of work, because we really have like a system, like 90 days, we know exactly what we need to do. And it's pretty intense. If somebody wants to talk about like that, we can leave maybe a link for that, but I don't have like, it's not open all the time, and people need to be vetted through me because I talk to every single person on the sales call, as I want to be absolutely sure that I can help them.
Right.
If I can't help them, I'm not going to take them in. And the free Facebook group, I think, put a link down there, let people in, and they're going to learn some stuff as well.
It's been very helpful for me. And that's one place that you and I have connected as well. So what words of advice or encouragement do you have for writers that maybe they're discouraged, or with LinkedIn and other social media platforms? What can you do to kind of help them see a little more clearly how to best utilize this for their platform?
Focus.
There you go, focus.
Focus. I think that a lot of people are frustrated with LinkedIn just because they do not understand the concepts that we talked about today. They either try to talk to the wrong people about the right thing, or the right people about the wrong thing. Is there an opportunity for them? So I think LinkedIn is still pretty vague for a lot of people. So just going the route of like, I think that this is like almost like a mini course for writers. Just like go out, find the decision maker that you need for your writing career, not your people that will buy your book. Think about all the resources of like all the people that you need to help you in your writing career.
Right.
Okay. from maybe coaches like you to help them out, to publishers, editors, whatever, and just focus on that. See what you need right now the most to get you to the next step of where you want to be in your writing career. Who are these people? And then, if it's a coach, writing coach, cool. You can find them on LinkedIn. They can just talk to you. If it's an editor, cool, find them. Or if it's like a publisher, cool, agent, cool, find them on LinkedIn. And then just be persistent, because a lot of people don't understand that LinkedIn is just like much slower platform. People log in a couple of times a week. They do not have like time to be there 24/7. So just have a little bit of patience and focus about who you want to target, and you'll be just fine. You'll have better results than you're hoping for. So focus, patience, and making sure you understand who you're going after, and you'll be fine.
And I would say connection. It's more about connections.
The more human you're like, and the less you're business like and copywriter like or whatever, and the more human you are, just being yourself, actually you'll get better results on LinkedIn. Even though it kind of sounds counterintuitive, because like it's a business network, you need to be all like with tie and everything. No, just be yourself. Be yourself. Be human, and that's what LinkedIn and the audience on LinkedIn loves.
Yes, definitely. I love that you've shared that with us, and it is a huge help, because a lot of people I know struggle with all of this, and they can always find out more, like you said, from your group or talking with you if that's something they're interested in. So focus, connection,
Patience.
That's a big one. Yes. Yeah. See, Twitter
I know.
moves at the speed of lightning, and LinkedIn's kind of like the snail.
Yeah.
I appreciate you being here, explaining all this to us, and I hope you have a great day.
You too. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of The Right Hour. Our goal is to help you achieve your writing dreams.
You are one step closer to write your book.
Learn how to get the book out of your head with the 4 steps we teach our clients. Sign up for the free email series at therightcoach.biz. The link is in the show notes.
The 4 steps help you clarify your focus, create and organize your content, and complete your book. We share tips on the writing process, and you can download the writing planner to track your progress.
Don't let fear and overwhelm keep you from writing your book.
It's time to write your book.